Hello, 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 everybody. I hope all is well with you guys. So today I figured I'd want to do a video about what I struggle with, and that is anxiety. I know there's a ton of people in this world that struggle with the same thing that I struggle with. Mine's more so anxiety than it is depression. So I figured I'd just kind of have a little chat with you guys. It just because I know that a lot of people can be on the same level that I'm on with it. And like I said, I know quite a few people in this world that deal with it as well. A lot of family, a lot of friends that I know of that struggle with it. So just to let you guys know, you're not alone in it. Like I said, a lot of people struggle with it. I've been struggling with mine for I think about 10 years now. So I've done it with no medication, never taken medication for it. The only thing I've ever taken was just a natural medication, something that you'd get from like I can't think of the word for some reason. Like something maybe like Sprouts or something like that. It's called Gabacom. So I've taken that in the past. I don't take it anymore, but I did take that in the past. So, but yeah, you're not alone. I struggle sometimes with social anxiety. I struggle with panic attacks. Every once in a while, I've managed to get my panic attacks under control. I don't have them as much as I used to have them. I used to have them pretty much on a weekly basis. Now I deal with it just whenever it comes about, just whenever it feels to rear its ugly head upon me. But I've also dealt with just learning to let it go. So that's the easiest thing. Those are kind of that's the easiest tip that I can give is when you're dealing with anxiety, don't fight it. Just let it go. I've had my fair share of anxiety. So it's a continuous basis for me on a weekly basis anyways. Mine just comes and goes. It just depends on how much sleep I'm getting, how much stress is in my life at the time, which recently there's been actually quite a bit of stress. So I've managed to actually deal with my anxiety pretty well from that. So just learning certain tips and tricks. I am currently in therapy for it. So I've been going off and on in therapy for it for quite a while now. So anyways, like I said, guys, I deal with panic attacks, sometimes a little bit of being in public with people I've dealt with in the past, and sometimes this comes into play now where sometimes I don't want to go somewhere by myself. Sometimes I'm afraid to be alone by myself. I have my ups and downs with it. It just depends on what's going on for the week that causes it, or from what I've seen or from what I've heard, stuff like that. So, the afraid of going somewhere alone, I've actually brought myself out of that. I used to be terrified of going somewhere alone, going to work alone, stuff like that. And I actually brought myself out of it. I kept telling myself and reminding myself, like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, exactly that. What's the worst that can happen? Nothing. I just get terrified and have maybe a panic attack, and I get over it. So, I deal with amongst social anxiety. I am currently on Instagram. I am currently on Facebook. I don't venture out on Facebook too much. Mostly that's just for family and friends that I have on Facebook, but Instagram is just mostly Instagram. So, I don't deal with Instagram. I don't deal with a whole lot of hassles with that. So, but the social anxiety part that I have is, I believe I was kind of talking about it, is just going out into public, I have issues with big crowds. I struggle with that just a little bit, just depending, like I said, on the week. Some days it hits me pretty hard, sometimes it doesn't. So, but for the most part, it's the crowd situation's pretty good. So, yeah, like I said, I deal with my fair share of panic attacks, and those are pretty scary. The first time I had ever got diagnosed with anxiety, like I said in the beginning of this video, was 10 years ago. And I didn't know what it was. I'll be honest with you guys, because I'm going to be honest here on YouTube. 10 years ago, I went through a miscarriage, and it for some reason somehow had set me into some sort of like brain chemistry type thing with anxiety. I didn't know what anxiety was. I'd never been diagnosed with it. I know that people in my family had struggled with it, and I just didn't know what it was. So I started to deal with panic attacks, had no idea what it was. And sooner or later, after about a month of dealing with it, I decided to go into the doctor and got diagnosed with anxiety. So they wanted to put me on something for it, some sort of, it was actually anxiety plus depression medication. And I decided not to take it. I decided to start taking the journey and dealing with the struggles that I have and have dealt with on my own. And let me tell you, I have my battles with it where sometimes I wonder, with just my anxiety, if I should be medicated for it. And other times, no, I've made it so far, and it's such a far stretch where I've made it without any medication. I'm actually kind of afraid to get on medication for it, just because I've dealt with it for so long. I would choose to just be myself, would like to just be myself and learn the tips and tricks on how to deal with it on my own. So that's why I chose to basically opt out of medication. So, and like I said, I deal just fine. Some days I can handle it, some days I can't. Some days I just need a breather and just kind of need to, lock myself in an area. Or I know that sounds really bad, but maybe we have a downstairs basement, and sometimes I just go down there to play video games or watch TV just to kind of get my mind out of it. So, but anyways, yes, my struggles have been really real with dealing with anxiety. And I was hospitalized for it just a few times, not knowing at the time that I knew in a sense that it was anxiety, but didn't know because I was that much anxiety filled, wasn't too sure of if that's exactly what it was. So yeah, back in the day when, this was in my 20s, I'm obviously in my mid 30s now. Back in the day, that's when I got diagnosed, was in my 20s with anxiety. So, like I said, I had my fair share of it, dealt with it, and each time, yeah, they kept coming out and saying, no, it's just anxiety, it's just a panic attack. Would do, the EKG. No, everything's good, everything's fine. You're just, maybe you need to get on some medication. And no, and in my experience, with people that have been in medication, great. That's awesome. More power to them. I have no problems with people being on medication, just to try and manage their symptoms with anxiety. I have no issues with that at all. I know quite a few people that are actually on it to manage their symptoms with anxiety. So, and they've said it just puts them in kind of like, it still makes them, but it makes it to where it just takes the edge off and makes it to where they don't struggle with the symptoms so much. So like I said, I've also thought about doing that, but just kind of haven't done it. So would rather just take the journey on my own and learn how to deal with it on my own. And I've managed, like I said in the beginning, to get my panic attacks down to, gosh, I think I went one time without having a panic attack for like 6 months. And now actually, when I get them, they're really, really light, not as heavy as they used to be, like a full-blown panic attack. Now, when I get them, they're super, super light. I could start to feel myself go into one, and then I go, nah, okay, well, if you're gonna do it, bring it, because that's what I'm here for. Then bring it on. So, and as I say that to myself, it's kind of weird because you're almost fighting yourself. As I say that to myself, it disappears and it just calms down and everything goes back to normal and gets smooth again. And yeah, so I did have one instance. It's kind of a funny story that I wanted to share with you guys. The other day, I was at my therapy office, and I have a dreadful fear of elevators. I have always had that fear of elevators. I don't like them. I don't like to be in them. I'll take them, but I don't like to be in them. So the other day, when I was in one, my husband was with me and we were coming down. It was just an elevator that was just it was one, the first level and the second level. So we managed to go up just fine onto the second level. And then obviously after the appointment, once we were done, um, we were in the elevator, and this elevator like is kind of, it's small, it's really really confined, it's really really tiny in there. You can maybe fit 3 or 4 people in there. And as we were in there coming down, um my husband jumped in the elevator, and it freaked me out. That's not the only time he's done that to me just to freak me out. He jumped. Well, when he jumped, I don't know if if it stopped the elevator or what it did. But yeah, when he jumped, it, like, for me, it felt like it was hours that we were in there for. I think it maybe slowed it down, and I panicked. That's when I started to go on my panic attack. And I started to panic, and I was like, babe, it's not moving. We're not moving. We're not moving. And I started to kind of like hyperventilate just a little bit. And I started to pick up I'm laughing about it now because coming out of it, it was hilarious. But as as I started to pick up the emergency phone, he's like, we're fine, we're moving. And after that, like, I noticed on the button, like the control panel, the button panel, like nothing was lighting up in it. So, after about a few minutes, he keeps hitting the buttons and stuff like that. And that's when I actually really started to panic, because I'm like, nothing's lighting up. I don't feel this moving, nothing like that. So then I was in full-blown panic. This was just last week when this happened. And I was in full-blown panic. Well, finally we kept pushing the buttons and it opened. I think maybe it was a few minutes that we were just in there for. I don't think it was very long. So after the doors finally opened, I finally came out of that elevator, and my heart was going a mile a minute. And because of my fight or flight kicked in, I finally got to realize I didn't ever want to be in that position, but I finally got to realize where my fight or flight would go to, and it went to fight. And I turned around and swung at my husband. So not out of meanness, it just was, he was dying laughing the whole entire time. And luckily I didn't hit him in the face. I didn't hit him anywhere. When I swung around to hit him, he had backed away, and he was laughing so hard. And I, immediately, once I snapped back into place, I was like, oh my gosh, I just realized what I tried doing. So when I snapped back into place, I busted out laughing. And to me, whenever my anxiety is in that state and I have overcome it, I feel empowered. And that's my suggestion to you guys, is to try that. The only way that you're, in a sense, going to get over some of the anxiety that you deal with is to put yourself in the situation. Now, there's some things that I will kind of avoid with anxiety, that I won't actually put myself in. Like, I'm very, very fearful of heights, and I don't want to put myself in a situation like that because I am terribly fearful of heights. That was something that came along with my anxiety and never used to be when I was younger. I used to love roller coasters, love airplane rides, wanted to skydive, and actually never did skydive, but I wasn't fearful of heights like I am now. So maybe that's something that comes with age as well, and just dealing with anxiety. So anyways, I hope that's motivation to you guys, to kind of help out if you're struggling with anxiety. Help other people out as well if they're struggling with anxiety. It's something that's real. It's not something that's made up. Yes, some of the things in your mind in your own mind can become like a catastrophic thing that you've just blown up, and it keeps going and it keeps going. Believe me, I've had my fair share of that too. But give support to people that deal with it. Have some understanding if you don't deal with it yourself. But yes, reach out, give support to those guys that have to deal with it, because it's very real. Depression is very real as well. Like I said, I don't deal with really in hardly any depression, to be honest with you. I deal with a lot of anxiety. So reach out, to people to help them out. Let them know that they're always loved. Let them know that there's nothing wrong with them having anxiety, that they'll come out of it. Just even if it's 2 o'clock in the morning, they call you to talk to you, just talk to them. So anyways, guys, like I said, I hope this brings inspiration to you, like it does to me. I just wanted to kind of share with you some of my stuff and tips and tricks that I've learned, in a sense, on how to deal with anxiety. And basically all you can do is just laugh it off. Something like that happens to you in an elevator and you're dreadfully fearful of it, elevator, escalator. I know a lot of people that deal with the escalator situation where it freaks them out. Just go for it. Get on it, ride it, see what happens. Your heart pounds a little bit, take it on. There's nothing wrong with it. That's what I've learned. I just take it on. My anxiety kicks in with certain things. Take it on. That's all that I can do, because you're in control of that at the end of the day. You're in control of all of your emotions and the way that you feel and the way that you react and deal with certain situations. So like I said, I could have turned my situation with the elevator into such a dreadful thing and just be so terrified of wanting to ever go into an elevator again. And guess what? When I have to go back for another appointment, you best damn believe I will be in that elevator, praying that it doesn't get stuck, but also laughing, remembering the thing that I just dealt with last week in that same elevator. So hope that helps you guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.